Live from the new Life Center studios in Coconut Creek, Florida, and Phoenix, Arizona, it's Nothing Worthwhile, giving you the latest news in pop culture, sports, entertainment, and professional wrestling. You know, all the crap you don't care about. Here's Evan Moody and Andrew Gruthius.
After these messages.
You guys suck!
Congregating around the argument that was offered by Trump's able lawyer, basically making the point that, Trump might be disqualified from holding office, but he's not disqualified from running for office. And if he were removed from the ballot in Colorado, as the Colorado Supreme Court found he should be, Congress might act in the meantime to exercise our 2/3 authority to remove the disability from Donald Trump.
I'm Paula Reed in Washington. Wolf had to step away. He'll be back.
You know what I love about tacos?
What's that? Everything. Do tacos get any more kick butt than this?
Oh, they're about to, all right. New at Taco Town. We take a crunchy all-beef taco, smother it in nacho cheese, lettuce, tomato, and our special Southwestern sauce. Then we wrap it in a soft flour tortilla with a layer of refried beans in between.
Sweet.
Then we wrap that in a savory corn tortilla with a middle layer of Monterey Jack cheese.
Awesome.
And it gets even awesomer when we take a deep-fried gordita shell, smear on a layer of our special guacamolito sauce, and wrap that around the outside.
This is pretty big.
It gets bigger because we bake it in a corn husk filled with pico de gallo, then wrap that in an authentic Parisian crepe filled with egg, Gruyere, merguez sausage, and portobello mushrooms.
Can I eat it now?
Sure. But not before we take the whole thing and wrap that in a Chicago-style deep dish meat lovers pizza.
Pizza? Now that's what I call a taco.
Well, it's not a Taco Town taco until we roll it up in a blueberry pancake, dip it in batter, and deep fry it until it's golden brown. Then we serve it all in a commemorative tote bag filled with spicy vegetarian chili. It's 15 great tastes all rolled into one.
Taco Town!
The new Pizza Crepe Taco Pancake Chili Bag, only at Taco Town.
Taco Town!
Everybody I grew up with listens to country music, and I don't, but I get it. Like, I understand why white people like it. You know, like, you can relate to it. You can understand all the lyrics. You don't need to Google what a nene is. It's not, I don't know if you know this, every country song's just about exactly what a white guy's doing at that moment. It's like, I turn the radio up. It's like, yeah, fuck yeah. That's good. That's music. That's what I like. I get it. You can relate to it. I ride around, I listen to rap. That's all I listen to. I can't relate to one fucking song. I just ride around by myself, bob my head, just like, I beat the pussy up. It's like, I don't know if I beat it up. Like, I'm like, I'll shadowbox the pussy. I've never knocked it out. Everyone's knocking out. I've never knocked it out. I'm more like Floyd Mayweather with the pussy. Very technical. Very defensive.
At the end of a century, ravaged by violence, a society of perfect order will arise. Criminals will be frozen and reprogrammed in cryogenic prisons.
The prisoners are ice cubes. Their criminal instincts are being reprogrammed as they sleep.
Aggression and deviant behavior will be totally eliminated.
He's a criminal the likes of which you have never seen. In a bad time, he was the worst.
I'm gonna love running this place.
But in the year 2032...
This morning, Simon Phoenix escaped from this cryo facility. We are, quite frankly, not equipped to deal with the situation.
Amidst a world of peace and calm...
We're police officers. We're not trained for this kind of violence.
How was the fiendish Simon Phoenix apprehended back in the 20th?
In the end, it took just one man. John Spartan.
You mean the Demolition Man?
The conditions of your parole are full reinstatement into the SAPD and immediate assignment to the apprehension of Simon Phoenix.
Two mortal enemies.
Just dropped in to say hi.
From another time.
Pass is over, John. Time for something new and improved.
Oh, hell.
future that isn't big enough for the both of them. Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes, Demolition Man.
Does that mean we're on?
We are on.
We are on. How do I sound? How do I sound?
You sound very, very sensuous.
No, because I was listening to the last of the Action Heroes, the Carl Weathers All-Star Compendium episode, and I think I had the microphone up to my mouth because Marie was like, "You're so breathy." I'm like, "Carl." Yeah, like it sounded like I had COPD. I'm like, and Carl Weathers. No, I just sounded very, very, very breathy. So I think I moved the mic a little bit off my mouth. So
really?
I don't sound like I have like a airway restriction.
I didn't hear that. I didn't listen. I didn't.
Good.
I had forgotten that we were doing it. But we did something. So, we recorded for that, didn't we?
Yes, we recorded. We basically, you took a clip from the Nothing Worthwhile show, which we're doing right now, and it was for the week that was, and we talked about Carl Weathers. So,
oh God.
So Seagal.
Is this going to upset me?
It might.
Oh God, here we go.
So Seagal.
Strap in.
He put together the show. So he hosted it, and I think there's a total of 7 or 8 podcasts that spoke, and pretty much everybody says the same thing. I mean, what can you say? Right. Everyone talked about Carl Weathers. So our placement, Andrew, out of 8 podcasts.
What do you mean our placement? Like where they put us?
Where we were? Yes.
We were. Well, I would say we're probably first to get us out of the way.
We were second to last.
Okay, so that's a penultimate. That's a nice spot, isn't it?
I feel like if we looked at it at wrestling terms, I think you put like a slow match before the main event. And that's how I felt. But
I'm not looking at it in wrestling terms. I'm looking at it as like in memoriam Oscar segment, and those last couple are always kind of biggies. So I'm going to take this. Right. I'm going to take this as the arrogant fucks we are, and I'm going to say it's an honor and a privilege to be second to last on the Carl Weathers in memoriam last of the Action Heroes segment. I'm good with that.
My favorite moment. I read a clip of this very somber news, and I say how bummed out I am, and I throw it to Andrew, and he says, "Well, I guess there really isn't no tomorrow." And, and I do like a Jackie the Joke Man, like woo. And Groo does a great line. What, too soon? But anyway, yes, it was a nice job. Everyone pretty much says the same thing. I mean, to a certain extent, Carl Weathers and his great career and marker of time and all that good stuff. So it was a fun
guys like that, like who can truly excel at more than one major thing in life. Like I think about him, and I think of like a Jesse Ventura, almost in the same kind of way. Like they were both like Jesse Ventura was a Navy SEAL. He was a professional wrestler. He's a successful actor. He was a governor, for God's sake.
Politician.
Yeah. So, and Carl Weathers, not just a good football player, a great football player. And he became a movie star and a world renowned. Like these guys are special. It's really
I agree.
Something.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. A couple of quick hitters. Andrew loved the new Billy Joel music video, De-Aging. I really thought it was really caps off the song really well. What did you think of Billy's new music video?
Yes, the music video, even though obviously the deep fake is completely obvious, I don't care. I love the idea of it. I love it when Billy Joel gets introspective and looks back and actually acknowledges that he had a career before River of Dreams. So I really enjoy the music video, and it brought out a little more of the song for me. The greatest thing about it to me is that I think there's going to be more where that came from. Not a lot more, but something. I think it lit a bit of a spark in him. I hope. I'm being hopeful.
Yeah, I hope so too. If I'm a betting man, I'll do Price is Right 51% no, because Billy's never known to be a workhorse. I thought the de-aging effects, yes, we know it's fake, so to speak, but I thought they looked really good on video. I mean, as comparative to a couple of other things, I thought it looked really good. That's all. I thought
it looked as good as it can go right now. I've never seen it look better. I've seen it look a lot worse.
Agreed. That's what I'm saying. I thought it was fairly as realistic as possible. Real quick, hopefully, I hope this doesn't take us down a rabbit hole, but I did watch SmackDown.
Okay, good.
I did watch the ending segment. I did see The Rock's promo, and I liked it. I'm not ready to say we're making chicken salad out of chicken shit. I'm still more disappointed than positive, but I did like the acknowledged heel turn, and so I did think it trended in a more positive direction. The only thing I think, if I had a criticism off the top of my head, The Rock really got the sole spotlight at the end, where it felt like, again, Roman Reigns is now backseat to The Rock, where Roman Reigns is the acknowledged tribal chief, and he really should be in the front. And I don't know if The Rock's willing to take a little bit of a mini step back. But listen, The Rock's a major star, and I thought he did a great job with his promo on SmackDown.
Well, I got one question, and I want to take it from there. What are you disappointed in? What's still eating at you?
I just think they made a really major blunder, and it just took a little bit of the starch out of me. Like everything else, I listen. I'll always be a lifelong fan, and we'll always go to these shows if possible. But I think this was just a major blunder, and I think on the Bischoff's podcast, there's still plot holes that need to be. They really want to do it right, Triple H style. I think in the old days of Vince McMahon, they didn't care. If something didn't make sense, they just kind of, like a construction, just
never happened.
Shoveled over it. And I don't think Triple H is that kind of guy. That's why I think, to some extent, the popularity has increased, because it's more realism based. So anyway, I think there's some plot holes. And that's it. That's
okay.
It,
so my response to point number one. Yes, I do think that they, meaning mostly, I really do think it was The Rock. I think he overruled he and his, Ari Emanuel and his conglomerate overruled just about everybody and said, this is the best thing for business, so this is what we're going to do. And what I believe is that once the backlash happened, they got together and said, let's roll with this, and let's blur the lines between reality and fiction even more, and let's make it like, okay, Rock coerced Cody into giving up his spot, for the best of the business, for the families, for the blah, 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 whatever. And then Rock comes out and cuts that, saying there's only one family, and Cody's like, wait a minute, fuck that. This is not what we discussed, and I'm taking it back. Boom, give it to me. Now we're on. And now, to your other point about you're a little disillusioned with The Rock taking center stage. To me, that is setting up the Rock versus Roman, the real heat for beyond this. That to me is where they should be going with that. And if they are, I love it. And you're shaking.
No.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, because we know we're going to get there, and if they do it too soon, it's not going to feel real to me. So I don't want 4 weeks and The Rock turns on Roman Reigns. If it's
I don't want that either. I agree with you on that.
If it's going to mean something, give me 6 months. Give The Rock. I'm not saying he's got to be on the show every week because I'm sure he's a very busy guy, but give me some kind of extended piece where I'm really feeling they're back in the fold, and then when the breakup happens, it means a little something to me. I don't believe at this level it's, even though he's a very powerful guy, Dwayne Johnson just calling his card. I think it may have been a little bit of him, but I think it ultimately was Ari Emanuel and the leadership at TKO and maybe Triple H.
Well,
maybe
isn't
not.
that The Rock though? The Rock is on that board.
Yeah. I understand, but I think Ari Emanuel, he's the guy, and I think that they saw CM Punk injury, Vince McMahon. Let's go with it. Now, my take on the press conference, I didn't see it as whoa, a family thing. Though they acknowledged that, they really haven't explained why Cody.
No, I know they haven't.
All right, let me finish.
Yeah.
Let me just finish my point. I think what they have done is, I did like where The Rock's angle was, which he said, basically, you fuckers had it in your hand. You had the greatest main event of all time, and you let it slip away because you were a bunch of crybabies. Cody's story and his analogy to sports, that was really clever, and that was well done. So a guy like me who really likes that layered stuff and is critical, I went, oh, you know what? I can't criticize that. That's a really good point, and so I'll play. I think if there was a slight criticism, we've seen it. I guess it's fun, and we've seen it before. But he's clearly going back for the old 1990s trash talking Rock. Bright shirts. That sort of thing where. I wanted maybe a little bit something different, like Hollywood Rock from 2003, but nonetheless, it was well done, and I'll definitely now be watching to see where they take it in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, just to cap it off, I am loving every minute of it, even the imperfections of it, mostly because it's all guessing. Like, I'm watching and listening to all these podcasts and all these pontificators and all these different perspectives, and it just makes it more exciting and fun.
Stop it!
Really?
You just need to listen to you and me.
I know that. No. I'm just. It's enjoyable to hear other takes on like the behind the scenes, like what's the real story and where are they going and all of that. I'm just loving it, and the characters are playing their parts so well. Here is my fear. My fear, it's almost like a supergroup. Like, there's so much perfection and there's so much greatness right at the top. It's in danger of being overproduced. So what I don't want to happen is an implosion of talent where they have to do a kitchen sink match at WrestleMania. Like, I want there to be a clean win at the, no matter, regardless of which side it goes on. All right? And I know I'm probably not going to get it, but I think that would be the perfect sort of ending to this chapter, an absolutely clean win on either side, so we can just move on to the next page. It would be a very ironic thing for them to do, since all of the wins basically on Roman's side haven't been clean. So that would be, to me, that's the way I'd want it. But, and one more thing, and this is, I was going to say it last week. I want to see if you agree with me on this. I always love seeing the last 30 seconds of Hogan versus Andre, like the time when he knocks him down to when then he slams him in the thing, and just the build up to the pin. And it's one of really the most iconic moments in wrestling history that people talk about. They have a chance to get to sort of recreate that kind of feeling with Cody and all that's been built up with this. They can have that kind of momentum.
Agreed.
And I just don't want to see him fuck it up with getting fancy. Do you know what I mean?
I agreed, and it's going to be tough because they've booked The Rock into it now. They've referenced Solo's interference before. I guess they're angling towards a night one Roman and The Rock versus Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes. That's rumored to be the main event of night one. So these guys are going to do double duty, which is interesting and a very dangerous concept in itself. Because if somebody gets hurt, they're screwed. So to me that does sort of it does to me sound like an all-star game. It doesn't really make storyline sense, but it's so many big names that it's probably fun to watch. The only overt positive I see is it's probably the best way to use The Rock, because at 51 years old and a guy who hasn't been in the ring for 13 years, although he looks to be in great shape. We've talked about being physically ripped doesn't mean you can hit the ropes for 30 minutes. So I think if he's going to be back for an extended, limited run, so to speak, we know he's not going to be back full time. But I think a tag team actually is probably the best way to kind of dip his foot back into the waters, where into live action. That's it. I don't really have any other thoughts about that rumored night one main event.
Yeah, but you're in agreement with we're on the same page. Like I'm fully invested, and I'm looking forward to watching Raw tonight and just seeing how everything goes. So I'm as in as I've ever been. So I'm excited.
Yeah, our text buddy, he texted me. Mike Rich is gonna. He went. I guess there was a live event Saturday night out in Oakland, California. He went and said Cody Rhodes had tremendous heat, and I went heat. He goes, oh no, I mean he got the biggest pop, and he said he wasn't sure if he was going to go to Raw tonight in San Jose, but he was going to go to a Cricket Wireless meet and greet. And I said those are probably fun, right? I mean, sometimes we've said the events surrounding WrestleMania sometimes are even more interesting than sometimes the actual show. Sometimes. Yeah,
and they just announced that they're upping the Access thing. They changed the name of it. Now it's like a 5-day the world of WWE. So I'm like, the 1 year we're not going. They got this whole big thing. They're really even though they have been for a while since Triple H, but they've been stepping up their fan experience big time.
I agree. I think there's enough there. They could do a full week. I mean, take over a city for a full week. I mean, there's enough there. I'm sure it's a lot of fun. But you know me, you and I are sea level. We like to go to WrestleCon and talk to the honky tonk man for 20 minutes. That's it's kind of like where I'm at with my life these days.
That's true, but I'm loving watching the product now, and I would love to get my picture taken with Brock Lesnar. I mean, yeah, no.
I'd love to get. I'm in love with Nia Jax. I just want to.
Oh my God! Yes,
I want her to sit on my lap. I mean, Brock Lesnar. Yes. I mean, okay. Anyway, anyway. All right, listen, guys. Welcome to Nothing Worthwhile, episode number 120. On today's show, it's John Spartan, Sandra Bullock, those damn seashells, and of course, in my hand, Cherry Pepsi from Taco Bell.
Ooh.
Groo and I will run it back from 1993's Stallone Snipes Sci-Fi Fest Demolition Man. Demolishing the competition is, of course, Andrew Gruthius. Groo, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay. It's been, a quiet week here in Coconut Creek, Florida. No, I am on the mend after a fender bender in the middle of the week, more or less. I got, I would say, elbowed by a pickup truck. Going pretty damn fast. I'm a little banged up, but I am feeling better by the day, and still, didn't miss a minute of work, and just hanging in there. But yeah, it was pretty nasty accident. Car was totaled, but insurance is doing its thing. So just sitting back, waiting to hear and following my attorney's directions.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, attorneys aside, I'm glad you're okay. Groo texted me, sent me some photos. It's always car accidents are scary stuff. So I'm glad you're okay.
This was scary. But
well, I'm glad you're okay.
Walked away. Thank God. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, Andrew. Before we demolish everything with Demolition Man, are we ready to cue it up? It's 5 things, 6 things, 9 things we are talking about this week. It's nothing worthwhile. The week that was.
New You Life Center presents Nothing Worthwhile. The week that was.
Listen, if you're banged up like Andrew Gruthius, you take yourself over to New You Life Center. You get a facial. Yeah. You get a dermaplane. Yeah. You look at some pretty women. It's all good. Check them out check them out at www.newulifecenters.com or give them a call at 602-274-0068. It's unbelievable now with like the medical aesthetics. I went to Marie's, like one of her friends, high school friends. She got married, and like these women are in their 40s and 50s, and each one of them, I'm like, oh my God, this is like MILF Central. I'm like, what? When did
they all come to the wedding?
Everyone. Some of them, yeah, nice. Yeah, absolutely.
Reminds me, I gotta go get my suit.
Yeah, you do. Marie's. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Anyway. Listen, check them out, newyourlifecenters.com, 602-274-0068. Tell them that Moody and Groo sent you. Receive a big 15% off your first service. Marie, Erica, Desiree, Brian, Shelby, and the rest of the New You Life Center team, thank you to New You Life Center. All right, last Monday, Groo, it was announced that comedian Shane Gillis is set to host Saturday Night Live just 5 years after being fired from the late-night NBC sketch show. Shane Gillis will host the February 24th episode with musical guest 21 Savage. The controversial comedian Groo was announced as a cast member in 2019, but was fired before appearing in a single episode after he was heard using a racial slur in a now-deleted 2018 video posted on YouTube channel Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. Quoting a spokesperson for SNL, after talking with Shane Gillis, we have decided that he will not be joining SNL. We want SNL to have a variety of voices and points of view within the show, and we hired Shane on the strength of his talent as a comedian and his impressive audition for SNL. The statement continued, the language he used is offensive, hurtful, and unacceptable. Shane Gillis was originally announced, Groo, as one of 3 new cast members for SNL season 45, alongside Bowen Yang, who was the first fully Asian and first gay Asian cast member to join the show. Wowee. In the problematic video that led to his firing, Gillis mocked a Chinese accent and used a homophobic slur. At the time, Gillis responded to the videos, Groo, and he said, I'm a comedian who pushes boundaries. I sometimes miss. If you go through my 10 years of comedy, most of it is bad, but you're going to find some bad misses. I'm happy to apologize to anyone who's actually offended by anything I've said. Since being fired from SNL, Gillis has gained popularity as a stand-up comedian. Touring the U.S., his second comedy special, Shane Gillis' Beautiful Dogs, was released on Netflix in September of 2023. Groo, Shane Gillis set to host SNL. Thoughts?
Well, I'm surprised he's accepting the invitation. He basically should use it to be like, go to hell. But I do respect, him doing it. I'm certainly curious to see if and how he addresses the issue, or, in my opinion, non-issue. I remember this, and I wonder if you feel the same way, and I think maybe you do. Do you think companies or organizations that do what SNL did with this situation at the time probably seemed like the right thing to do because that's what was being done? Do you think these companies look back and say, you know what, we probably could have cleaned that up a little better than just throwing the baby out with the bathwater? Because that's what it sounds like to me. I've seen that clip, and insensitive, maybe. Funny, yes. I didn't hear anybody complaining, and I don't know. Is that wrong of me? I just, I think that people need to examine intent, and that matters. Context matters, intent matters. And like he said, he's a comedian. Does that give him special license to be an asshole? No, but he wasn't being an asshole. He was being whatever his character is. Dice Clay goes on stage every weekend around the country and still says the same shit he always said. Difference is not on TV. But he's not getting vilified for it. Why is he allowed, but Shane Gillis can't do an impression of an Asian? And, so it's like there is a double standard. Many people have gotten grandfathered in. Shane Gillis is obviously much younger than all these guys, but let's start examining intent and make that part of the conversation rather than just say, oh, this person said this, that's got to be, we have to erase that from existence. I mean, that's enough. It's got nothing to do with freedom of speech and everything to do with just everybody's just afraid of everybody. That's what I think it is.
And that's one to grow on.
The more you know.
Andy asked my opinion, then he goes for another 3 minutes on. So, I mean, before you went on a roll there, which I agree with you. I think obviously SNL would love to probably have it back, and actually, I think comedy does give you a right to be an asshole. You're there to entertain. Your opinions otherwise. I mean, it's a creative aspect, and I think that there really should be no limits on there. SNL is well within their rights to to not hire any comedian, but I think this guy Shane Gillis. And I'm not really a fan of many of today's comics, but he's got such a big name. And Marie's daughter mentioned him to me, and I was like, "Oh, I'll check out his special on SNL." On Netflix, and I loved it. I think that Shane Gillis is, if I'm to be frank, he's an easier target for comedy because he touches a lot of tropes, and he's I think he's maybe conservative leaning. I don't know, but he takes on these sort of tropes and taboos, and he's not afraid to talk about it, and he's become tremendously popular to the point now that I think Bud Light's hired him to try. They're going to try to get some of that marketplace back, or at least that cultural marketplace back, by hiring. They're trying to get back to the old sort of iconic imagery from years past. But I don't want to really go down that.
They got Dan Marino already.
Yeah, so I get, yes, I think SNL probably would have that back because SNL's mandate is to entertain, and Gillis probably would have been tremendous on the show. And so I think he'll have a great moment, and hopefully, he'll put a spotlight to his career. And I'd love to see the guy be successful because ultimately, when I watched this special, I laughed, and that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, for better or worse, because of this whole thing, is the reason why I'm going to watch SNL tonight or Saturday, whenever it's on.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Because I don't.
These 3-day weekends throw me. I keep thinking this is like Saturday night. Forgot I got to go to work tomorrow, but yeah, I'm gonna watch it because it's not a funny show anymore. I mean, it's got moments mostly surrounding Weekend Update, but the rest of it, it's just like they're not even trying. So hopefully this will they know they're gonna get some viewers, so hopefully they'll put their best foot forward.
What do you think, real quickly? The rumors of perhaps Tina Fey taking over SNL on the production side. What do you think about that?
I haven't heard that rumor. Is that true? That's out there?
It's out there. Yeah.
I think there would be nobody better. I think whoever's running. I mean, I don't know quite. I still don't know quite how that show runs. But if you're if everything's got to get past Tina Fey in order to make it on the air, I think that's like a Triple H situation. She's been there. She knows what it takes.
Evolution is a mystery.
Yeah. She knows what it takes. She's at this point. She's gonna be like on the Mount Rushmore of female comedy icons. I think. So I think that's something they would need. I hope that's true.
If Andy was a talking head on one of these networks and they were like, it was like a political conversation, and he'd say, just like the pile driver, I believe that this drug needs to be banned. Now, if you guys remember, back in '84 when Terry Funk pile drive Ric Flair onto the table in the very famous Memphis Knights turn. No, anyway.
You all see what I mean, right?
Right. Yeah. Groo, James Gandolfini's struggle with personal demons caused chaos during the final season of The Sopranos. According to the new book, On Locations, Lessons Learned from My Life on Set with The Sopranos and in the Film Industry, author Mark Kamine was a location scout for the HBO show, which ran for 6 seasons, and writes that the cracks really began in season 5 while filming the Hi Oh My episode on location at Monmouth Park in New Jersey, while the cast and crew stayed near the horse track. Quoting Kamine, I'm at a hotel bar when the crew member closest to Jim asked if I want to go down to Atlantic City with Jim and a few others. It's over an hour away. I declined. The next morning, I'm not surprised when Jim cannot be roused. Gandolfini eventually shows up 4 hours late, and for the worse for wear, cursing his way through half-learned lines, doing take after take, drinking coffees and bottles of water, alternatively, sheepish and churlish, the way he always is when he fucks up. Gandolfini became, quote, increasingly unreliable. HBO reportedly added a clause making him responsible for shoot day costs if he misses work due to excesses of consumption. The author does make it clear that Gandolfini was beloved on the set, despite the frustrations he could cause. Every Friday night, the actor would have copious amounts of sushi delivered to the set for the entire crew to enjoy. At the end of every season, he would give everyone a significant gift, including gift certificates worth hundreds of dollars. In the final season, he handed out watches engraved the message, The Sopranos, 1997-2007, rest in peace, thank you. Groo, James Gandolfini died in 2013 of a heart attack at the age of 51. I don't know if, Groo, if you heard about the new book. Any thoughts on the new book or what the author said about Gandolfini?
Well, I didn't hear about the new book, but this is kind of what you're describing is kind of common knowledge. But I'm certainly interested. I'm certainly interested in seeing the context. But there is somebody that the both of us know who actually knows all about that stuff. So I'm not going to say that person's name on
Go ahead. I know you want to.
I can't.
He loves name
dropping. No, I can't. No. Somebody you and I both know personally.
I know. I'm almost positive I know who you're talking about.
I can't say that. I can't say his name on here. But
what, are you under a? Hold on. Like
no,
wrestling,
I don't want to say his name. I don't want to.
I'm trying to set up a joke.
Oh, go ahead. All right, go ahead.
Are you on a 90-day no compete after being released? But no,
it's more like an NDA. Anyway. It's more like an NDA.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, look, stories about Gandolfini are well known.
Hold on, I'm getting a text message from Vince McMahon. Come to my office now.
Oh God. He was a party animal, but he took care of his people and all that stuff that you just mentioned, like his generosity. I've heard, multiple sources have confirmed that. So yeah, he had big appetites, and he lived it, and it's obviously what got him. But hey, you know what? He did it his way.
Don't stop believing.
I did it my way.
Andrew, we did a big podcast on this, and the new trailer for director Michael Sarnowski's upcoming A Quiet Place prequel looks pretty damn promising. After spending 2 films telling us the story of the Abbott family, how they survived the sudden arrival of aliens that hunt using their incredibly sensitive hearing, A Quiet Place Day One is a prequel. It shifts its focus to a woman named Sam, played by Lupita Nyong'o, on the day that the creatures first dropped down to New York. In the film's new trailer, Sam seems to be one of millions of New Yorkers who have no idea what to think as they look up in the sky and see massive fiery objects plummeting down. The impact of the crashes and the explosions caused by them are more than enough to send most everyone around Sam into a screaming panic. Because the prequel is set before humanity has learned how to fight back against the invaders, A Quiet Place Day One seems poised to feel more like a straightforward sci-fi horror where Sam and her allies, Eric, Joseph Quinn, and the man on the island, Digimon Hansu, have to figure out things on the fly. Andrew, it's Moody preview page, column 1 in red. It's the trailer for A Quiet Place Day One. Let's cue it up and watch.
Okay. La-da-dee-ha-da-dum. Ooh.
Got to share the sound.
Oh, oops.
Oh, here we go. You've only been doing this for 6 years. There we go.
At the end of Terminator 3. That just happened to me.
Please! Please!
Oh, stop it. Will you stop? That last shot of the aliens falling through the skyscraper is tremendous. I'll take this one first. This looks phenomenal.
I'll agree with that.
I like what they're doing here. I like the prequel, and I think they're going to go back to the Abbott family for A Quiet Place 4, because I think there's still more to be said here. I really like how they're including Digimon Hansu. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name correctly. From the second Quiet Place, the man on the island. We don't even know his name, and he's in the prequel, which gives credence to the fact that he's alive in the second. So maybe he's figured out early on what's going on with these aliens. I'll take a sip of my cherry Pepsi. Andrew, what'd you think of the trailer? It looks really good to me.
It actually does look. It looks I mean, the whole premise of these it's like I love these like sort of, no pun intended, quietly scary movies that like rely upon silence to create tension, and the first two Quiet Place movies definitely did that. This looks like it's going to up the ante a little bit. So it looks like a lot of fun, a lot of hopefully not overdone, but a lot of good quality special effects. But most of all, it looks freaky, and I like freaky. You know that. You know.
Well, Groo, speaking of potentially freaky, the ID channel dropped a trailer for its upcoming documentary, Quiet on the Set, which contains explosive allegations against disgraced former Nickelodeon kiddo TV titan Dan Schneider. He was on that. What show was he on, Dan Schneider?
Head of the Class.
Head of the Class. Thank you. Quiet on the Set, Groo, is a four-part docuseries investigates Schneider, who created Nickelodeon hits including The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, and iCarly, which launched the likes of Amanda Bynes, Jamie Lynn Spears, Victoria Justice, and Miranda Cosgrove into stardom. Schneider, a former child star himself, was dropped by Nickelodeon in 2018 after a 25-year relationship. Wow. Following an investigation into his alleged abusive behavior towards people with whom he worked on the set. Quiet on the Set pulls back the curtain of an empire built by creator Dan Schneider that had an undeniable grip on popular culture. ID has said in press. All right, Groo, this documentary on ID is directed by Mary Robertson and Emma Schwartz. Quiet on the Set does give Dan Schneider his due in creating television that influenced an entire generation, but it alleges that it was all not so rosy behind the scenes and that underage stars and crew were treated inappropriately. Excuse me, Quiet on the Set, which will air over 2 nights, March 17th and 18th, 9 to 11 p.m. on ID. Groo, check it out. It's on the inappropriate behavior page, 3rd column in blue. Quiet on the Set, the dark side of kids' TV.
For whatever reason, that tab is always open. All right, here we go.
In the early 90s, Nickelodeon was kid everything. And you better hope that your house had cable.
Wasn't there to educate you. We were there to have fun, to get slogged, to be entertained.
That's the Double Dare guy?
Yeah,
and
Mark
this
something.
is when Dan Schneider arrives.
Yeah, that's
Nickelodeon's
him. That's the
golden
guy.
boy. He created these shows that were hugely successful for them.
No one had ever really done sketch comedy starring kids for kids.
He launched the careers of child actors who became major stars.
For 20 years, he shaped children's entertainment and culture.
Thank you for being here.
But that marked one of the darkest chapters.
Huh.
Working for
it's
Dan
a big deal
was
when
like being
they
in an abusive
wait 45 seconds
relationship.
to show you the logo.
Dan's treatment of people on his shows was an open secret.
So my lawyer filed complaints, gender discrimination, hostile work environment, harassment, and it was so devastating.
How safe can any kids be in that environment?
There would be even bigger problems down the line with actual pedophiles on set.
These are 3 predators who worked at Nickelodeon, all in a short amount of time.
You don't say.
It was a toxic environment. It made me trust people less.
You were
sit
there
on my
for so
lap.
many hours, you get comfortable with people until you're not. I had no idea what I was saving my son from. It was a house of horrors. They find this enormous trove of child pornography. The officer said we found Ziploc bags, each one with a girl's name on it. 11 charges of child sexual abuse related to a child actor.
It made me wonder who was being hurt.
I
I've
would
been
wonder
waiting
that
17 years for today. It wasn't dealing with anybody on the shows or anything, right?
It was a child actor.
On one of our shows.
Could have been
Yes.
you.
Have you ever told your story publicly before?
Well.
So
Stop
here,
the presses.
So I'll say this. This does feel like when that whole R. Kelly thing came out, like this feels like this could get... I know that Dan Schneider is no longer employed by Nickelodeon, and I'm not going to infer criminal or civil charges, but this feels like this could open up. This is going to open up. This is the scab being ripped off the wound, and this could be really bad for a lot of people. That's what I'll say.
I'll bet you're right. But, like that trailer, the way it portrays itself, it's like, I don't know. You heard my response was like, obviously, like this is the narrative these days. And it's just...
What do you mean by that?
Like, you're talking about a children's show network, okay? And
right.
In 2024, all of a sudden you're discovering that 20 years ago at this children's network, there was weird shit going on. There's weird shit going on in every industry, okay? Every office building so I'm not saying, I don't mean to mock whoever were victims of whatever, but again, I'm looking at it as like, where were you when it was happening? Like, that's what's pissing me off about all these stories being buried until years and years later. I've known who this guy is since he was a teenager. He was on Head of the Class on I forget what channel it was, but and then he became with one of the other guys from that show, Brian Robbins. their company made like all those crappy Eddie Murphy kiddie movies. So they're a cash printing machine. They have.
Well, hold on. Well, wait a second.
What did I say wrong?
You didn't say. It's not a question of wrong. I'm just interjecting with the conversation. He was dismissed in 2018. I see a parallel to R. Kelly in the sense that R. Kelly's name came up for years. People knew that there was nonsense, illegal behavior, whatever you want to call it. There were rumors for years about R. Kelly. It just feels like it took, I'm not going to say courageous, but it took this investigative piece to really sort of open the door. I don't want to imply, because I try to be fair to everybody, I'm not trying to imply Dan Schneider is guilty of anything, but clearly something like this could really open the door. I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is I'm not saying you're making it seem like Dan Schneider, there's been allegations about, I heard, and I'm not a huge fan of Dan Schneider's or Nickelodeon's, but I've even known years earlier that there were rumors about inappropriate behavior or inappropriate conduct. What I'm saying now is this feels similar to the R. Kelly arc, big time investigative docuseries, and I could see where the ball starts getting rolling and people could get into some serious trouble from here. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. But, my response is still like you said, because if all this stuff happened and all these people know about it, enough to make a 2-part documentary series about it, yet Schneider has simply been fired, should he not be in prison? Or are we waiting for a TV show to tell us what the evidence is? That's the weird. That's the weird part. It's like putting the cart before the horse. You know what I'm saying? Like these things need to be these things need to be litigated before they get to people like us who can make determinations based solely on what we see.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but even on the R. Kelly documentary, they have significant pieces that were done by legitimate print journalists who wrote stuff, but the PR machine, the money machine behind it was so vast that the guy got away with it for all these years. And I don't want to really... I'm just saying, look, I think probably back in the day when the culture was different, Dan Schneider was given his just due based on the notes from the ID channel. He was very successful at producing very revolutionary, very hip sketch comedy shows with kids, and they were probably very successful making people in Nickelodeon a lot of money, and things get maybe swept under the rug until 2018 when the culture really started to shift and things just, probably was too much. Get rid of them, and now they're really going to maybe give in detail as to what went down or what was alleged. Yeah. I don't know.
He created, Kenan Thompson, Kenan and Kel, like all that stuff, like Good Burger, whatever all that stuff was called.
Yeah,
that was all all him. But it's the same, isn't it? The same. I mean, Vince McMahon. I mean, we've known about Vince McMahon all these years, and now
are you going to really? You're going to take me there?
No. We won't go there. But I'm saying it's kind of. I think it's the same thing. You said we've heard and seen and known about R. Kelly, and all of a sudden now this big thing is the one that does him in. It's the same pattern. It's what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It just is. That's all I can say.
I have a thought on that, but I don't want to get into it.
It's like Jose Canseco. It's like Jose Canseco writing a book, and all of a sudden now everybody's in trouble. It's like putting the cart before the horse. But anyway, these are terrible things, and with that being said, I can't wait to see the show. I really am looking forward to seeing it because we grew up around all like with that, like looking at this innocent stuff, and I'm just. Every week, it seems like there's something else to look forward to. Somebody is going to take another piece of my childhood away and just flush it down the toilet and stomp on it and puke on it and put it away forever and just slap me in the face and say, your childhood sucked. And I look forward to those days.
Well, I won't go that far, but I was still a young kid, teenager in Nickelodeon's early run heyday, and I loved it back then. I agree. It was a fun kids network that didn't try to preach. It was just all about being a kid and being fun. So there is perhaps a sadness there. I feel really bad because the next trailer is about a very naughty topic. Do you want to even go down this road?
Sure, why
do you
not?
want
At this point, since your internet's working right now, let's do it.
Yes, finally, Netflix has dropped the trailer for the upcoming show titled, this is going to be really bad, Supersex.
There you go.
Premiering March 6th, Supersex is an Italian language drama with English subtitles about how Italian actor Rocco Siffredi left his humble beginnings behind to become a world-famous adult film actor. In the show, he's played by Italian actor Alessandro Borghi, 37 years old. The real Siffredi, who's also known as the Italian Stallion, is currently 59 and has starred in more than 1,000 adult films over his long career, which spans back to the 80s. Hey, Netflix, did the writer strike really hurt your catalog options this much? Thoughts and prayers, one viewer commented on the trailer. The man, the myth, the legend, said another fan. Finally, a show like guys that like me can relate to. I won't read you all the comments. Rocco Siffredi Groo is actually married and has 2 sons with Hungarian model Rosa Caracciola, and he's announced his retirement from porn several times. Just like Rocky, he's retired several times. I tried to retire from my children, he said in a 2016 interview. I wanted to stop performing in front of the camera by the time they were teenagers and were ready to have sex themselves. Groo, it's the Rocco Siffredi preview page, second column in red. It's the Netflix trailer for the Italian language Supersex. Yaha.
Yeah, well, shouldn't they be covering this on Last of the Action Heroes? The Italian Stallion.
Yeah,
for God's sake.
yeah,
All right.
yeah, the Drunk Bond podcast.
All right.
Yeah.
By the way, I just received an email. I am I am starring in the American version of this show.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, so I can't talk much about it. All right, here we go. Supersex.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Ogni potere è un enigma.
Every power is an enigma.
Ti può dare la luce
Light.
o gettare nell'ombra.
Throw you into the darkness.
I'm touching myself.
Ogni esistenza vissuta fino in fondo ha sempre un prezzo da pagare.
The hitchhiker? I think so.
Oh, we can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind.
Don't dance. That's. I think that's what it is. A slow down version.
Ooh. Hey now.
Music by Harold Faltermeyer.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rocco Siffredi!
Si sta lì per isolo senza cuore.
What happened?
Noteworthy. Solo chi ha il coraggio di accettare il rischio diventa padrone di se stesso e inizia una nuova vita.
Oh, I was hoping that's like on now, but I gotta wait till March 6th. God damn it!
I gotta be honest with you. I mean,
That looks
I'm not
fucking
saying
great.
Yeah, I would watch it.
That looks good.
Yeah. I mean, the guy is, I've certainly, as a young man who watched a few adult films over the course of my lifetime, I've seen some of Rocco's work, and I'll save my thoughts. I'll save my thoughts about it to my gravestone. However, I'm sure it's a very interesting story.
The music alone got me. I'm serious.
Yeah. Did you have the? Oh yeah. Did you want to play the Hitchhiker?
Yeah,
theme
here,
real
check
quick,
this
or?
out. I think it's like this. It's definitely like the like. Here, check this out for a second. Hold on, gotta check it here. All right, not this part. This.
You're right.
Yeah, check it out. Wait, let it go a little bit. as if you sub. And it's like... Yeah, there you go.
You're like the bass player for Billy Joel.
Yeah, but now the music, yeah. Right?
But we can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind.
Yeah,
and
that's...
if your friends don't...
Yeah, that's good.
Let me tell you something. The Hitchhiker always delivered on amazing nudity.
Yes.
When I was a young man.
Oh,
It was always good. Like Shannon Tweed. It was
Yeah,
good
the one with Robert Vaughn. I remember that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Hitchhiker
All
was
right.
fun. You can probably get all of that on like YouTube somewhere. I definitely. I mean, they probably age horribly, but who cares?
Yeah, I mean, what was it? I mean, I'm assuming it was HBO trying to portray a serious show just to get some nudity on the screen.
Yeah, well, they did that with a few of their early shows that you can find, like First and 10. Remember First and 10 with O.J.
Delta
Simpson
Burke.
and Shannon Tweed?
Yeah.
And O.J., yeah. That was a great show. I guess they'd have trouble selling that to certain markets these days because O.J. was basically the star.
I mean, I can't watch that on Tubi.
You might be. It might be out there, but...
All right, Andrew, enough of the shenanigans. Let's get to it. Today's Nothing Worthwhile podcast, 1993's Demolition Man, is brought to you by New You Life Center. Be the new you. Whether it's virtual, RF microneedling, hormone balancing, laser treatments. Rocco Siffredi certainly doesn't need hormone balancing. I mean, he needs to knock some of those hormones out of his body, for Christ's sakes.
To slow down a little bit.
Slow down. You're doing fine. Medical aesthetics, cosmetic injectables, medical weight loss programs. New You is where it's at. See what they're all about. Check them out. New You Life Centers, www.newyoulifecenters.com. Check out their social media. Give New You a call, 602-274-0068, and tell them you want something worthwhile because you heard from them about them from Nothing Worthwhile. I fucked up the whole thing. New Life Center, Phoenix Premier Med Spa. Groo. Demolition Man is a 1993 American science fiction action film starring, directed by Marco Brambilla. In his directorial debut, it's rated R for nonstop violence and for strong language. I'm going to go right into the cast. Groo. Sylvester Stallone as Sergeant John Spartan, Wesley Snipes as Simon Phoenix, Sandra Bullock as Lenina Huxley, Nigel Hawthorne as Dr. Raymond Cocteau, Benjamin Bratt as Alfredo Garcia, Denis Leary as Edgar Friendly, Jesse the Body Ventura as Adam Cryocon Alley, Rob Schneider as Officer Irwin, uncredited, which I found slightly interesting, Dan Cortese from MTV Sports, Taco Bell Lounge singer, and Jack Black, a very young Jack Black, in a small role as Wasteland Scrap number 2. Let me read you a couple things about the casting and get your thoughts. Stallone passed on the project at first, but he came back around to it. He liked the idea of two equal opponents in Spartan and Phoenix, decided to take a chance on doing something he had not done before. Stallone wanted Jackie Chan for the role of Simon Phoenix. Chan turned it down, not wanting to play a villain. Wesley Snipes turned down the role several times, so Joel Silver and Marco Brambilla went to the set of the film Rising Sun to try to convince him in person. Brambilla explained what he thought the film could be and his passion for the script that they were writing. The next day they got a call and Snipes agreed to do the film. Interesting here, Lori Petty was originally cast as Huxley, but was fired after 2 days of filming due to what producer Joel Silver called creative differences. Lori Petty attributed to personality differences, as she and Stallone did not get along. Quoting Lori Petty, "Sly and I were like oil and water." Silver was looking for a replacement, and Lorenzo di Bonaventura recommended Bullock. Impressed by her audition tape, Silver hired her. Denis Leary was hired for his comedy rants, which he wrote himself, and had to undergo a long approval process by the studio before it was included in the script. Groo, thoughts on the very big-time cast for Demolition Man?
Definitely a very, I would say, powerful cast of supporting players to support.
Agreed.
Support the two leads there. I don't know if it was necessary to go as far as they did. It worked to an extent, but also to an extent it didn't quite work. But I'll explain that later. But it is impressive.
if I'm hearing your comments, did you feel Denis Leary was a bit superfluous?
Yes, it's like out of another movie or out of his. It's like why are we watching one of his MTV rants right in the middle of this? As much as I enjoy him and his his style, I used to love those things. And I remember when I saw this in the movies, I laughed and I thought this was great. But now I'm watching it years later. I'm like, why is this even here? So the answer is yes, very superfluous.
Yeah, it's like, remember when Dice Clay was in that Star Wars movie and he was like, you can take the Force and I was like, I love this, but it doesn't seem... Anyway.
You know what that reminds me of? You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the Family Guy episode of, I think it was the Return of the Jedi one, where they're doing that final space battle, and they pass right by, and then you see John Candy doing the thing from Planes, Trains, all like doing the mess around, everybody do the mess around. That's what that reminded me of, like just completely out of nowhere.
Andrew, the original script was written by Peter Lenkov, who retained a story credit. Selling the spec script of Demolition Man to Warner Brothers was his first big break. Lenkov had been inspired by Lethal Weapon and wanted to do something about cops. He was also influenced by stories of celebrities being cryogenically frozen and was listening to Sting's song Demolition Man on repeat due to the fact that he had a broken cassette player in his car. Interesting. His initial pitch was rejected by an executive who did not understand his frozen cop idea. The finished script, where a super cop has to battle the world's deadliest villain in the future where there's almost no crime, generated more interest. Writer Daniel Waters, known for Heathers, said his version of the screenplay was essentially a rewrite. He changed the script so extensively that the script actually had to go to arbitration so they could divvy out who received the screenplay writing credits. And I know you're a Hollywood guy. Is this arbitration part of a process when they're fighting over script story credits? Is that something you've heard of before?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure like the ins and outs of it, but it's got to do with the Writers Guild and the union. And it's like you have to have written a certain amount in order to receive credit, to receive the benefits from the union and blah, 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 blah. So it's like, when you have a script that has all of these writers or all of these people, it's tough to get credit for all of them, and sometimes you got to fight because the union's going to be like, well, it's impossible for 25 people to have written just one 95-page script. So I think that it sounds like that's what happened here, and it's pretty common.
So is it like a board, or somebody decides like you get 75%, you get is that how it kind of works?
I think it's for the production company or whoever's making the movie to sort of divvy up who gets what, and then I think that has to be approved by the union, the WGA, the Writers Guild. I think that's how it works. I could be way off, but I'm pretty sure that's how it. That's how it goes.
All right. Let me give you a couple of quick hitters. Daniel Waters had an idea about a small part for Universal City, which was a shopping and entertainment area called City Walk, in which he thought one day Los Angeles might be like that. He said initially he didn't want to try to get too deep into the politics or deeply examine political correctness. He did say he wanted his film to sort of look at that society someday will need a balance and a compromise when they talk about political middle ground. Burger King was originally written as the winner of the restaurant wars, but Burger King and McDonald's were not interested in being part of the film. But Taco Bell, they were happy to be involved. We've talked about before the 3 seashells concept. That was basically, I think Waters called his friend, fellow writer Larry Karaszewski for suggestions. The guy was in his bathroom and he had seashells like on the counter of his toilet, and he said, "Well, let's go with the seashells." So Waters decided to use that. Was Demolition Man, was it one of the first movies with I'm thinking like ad placement, like Taco Bell was such a major part of like the storyline? I mean, I don't know. Was that something you remember?
I mean, on one hand, I don't think so, because I remember them doing... No, it couldn't have been, because don't you remember they...
Were there other movies that had such...
Oh, yeah.
major...
Oh, yeah. That goes way back. It goes back to... I can remember Superman. He's thrown into a gigantic Coke sign, and the Coke sign explodes all over the place. But don't you remember, I think it was in Wayne's World, where they actually lampoon it. They make fun of it. They're like... He's like, oh, I'll be there, Cassandra, just as soon as I finish my breakfast with this hearty Aunt Jemima pancake syrup that I just bought for only $1.99 at the A&P, like something like that. I don't know. So yeah, there's no way that this was not the first, nor even close to the last to hook up with promotional stuff. All the like superhero movies were doing that. Like Batman was like, don't you remember that commercial? It was like, I'll get drive-through or something. Then the Batmobile goes through like the Arby's or something. I don't know. But yeah, they've been doing this forever.
Groo, the film began with John Spartan being taken out of a cryogenic freeze in the future of 2032 until Fred Decker did an uncredited rewrite, adding the 1996 LA prologue to showcase Spartan and Phoenix in their natural environment and making the differences of the future more striking. The script had been in development for 6 years before finally filming began. Notes talk about Marco Brambilla, who had a background in big-budget television commercials. He was recommended by David Fincher, who had just done Alien 3. We've already talked about Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme being rumored to have taken part in Demolition Man. Brambilla met with Stallone a few days after getting attached to the project and started rewriting the script with Daniel Waters. The film went into production approximately 8 months after that. So I already kind of touched upon it, but Groo, a bit of developmental heck before we saw the light of day on this project. Is this typical for movies or big money deals? All this time rewrites, this kind of thing.
Movies like this, yeah. Especially you said, the guy Joel Silver, the producer, he was notorious and still is. I think he's still around. He was notorious for like taking scripts and being like, "All right, this is great. We're going to do this," and then somebody doesn't like it, or they take this idea, or they and then they say, well, all right, we'll take this, and then we'll make this the new Die Hard. And then we'll take the one for Die Hard, and we'll turn that into the new Lethal Weapon. And sort of like playing like musical chairs with all these scripts. So this sounds like one of those. It sounds like, a story with pieces of, it's like Billy Joel, like writing a song, like, like pieces of other pieces, musical pieces and lyrical pieces of other songs coming together to form this one. That was pretty typical for a big budget action movie who, like this one, like at the time, 1993, Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes, above the title, a movie called Demolition Man about a futuristic crime, cops and robbers movie. That movie at that time could be sold on that pitch alone without a script. And that's probably what happened here. So once they sell the idea and they got all the pieces involved, then they actually have to write a script. So the answer is yes. A lot of these big ideas, big budget that everybody gets excited about, yeah, they go through this kind of thing because everybody wants a piece of it. That's why.
So the notes did touch upon, and we'll get into your overall thoughts in the film, but it touched upon how they went back and filmed the prologue from 1996. Any quick thoughts? Did you feel like that little piece from 96, did that add to the film? Negligible? What that little opening stanza with Stallone and Snipes in current day 96 LA, do you think fleshed it out a little bit for you? Any thoughts on that prologue?
You know what? I didn't know that, and now that I'm thinking about it, it didn't bother me. And it still doesn't, and it still doesn't bother me. It's okay. No, it's fine the way it is, and I kind of like that. I kind of like when they set the table like that. That they're one of the things I do like about this movie is that it's not rushed. It's not 90 minutes and out. It's like over 2 hours, and that means that they're putting money in it. They're putting time and effort into it. They're not just trying to like. So I'm not bothered by that little prologue. And I think it adds to it added to the anticipation.
Yeah, I agree.
Didn't bother me at all.
Do you imagine back in the day if they said, Gene Siskel, your thoughts? It didn't bother me. I think the production company would have been on the phone quickly. We're going to, we're dropping money as we speak.
No, it's like wouldn't that be a great, like, for the print ads they used to have with the critic quotes? Be like, it didn't bother me. Gene Siskel, Chicago
Andrew
newspaper.
Andrew Guthius, nothing worthwhile. It didn't bother me. You see it.
It's all right.
The city of L.A. Groo allowed the filmmakers to use and demolish an old Department of Water and Power building in downtown L.A. This enabled them to have more control over the explosion instead of having to cut straight to the building being gone in rubble as they had been forced to do with other projects. The filming suffered repeated delays. It was originally a 72-day production schedule, ran to 112 days. Stallone was out for a week due to an injury. Heavy rains in LA delayed filming. A soundstage was also damaged due to a fire. Production went through 5 assistant directors, and many of the crew had to leave to work on other projects. Insiders at Warner Brothers were critical of Joel Silver for hiring a director without previous feature film experience. What do you think about that, Groo? Risky move, giving such a big money, big star production, forgetting about what you think of the movie just on the surface, hiring a rookie guy for this kind of project.
Yeah, it means that, unless I'm wrong, it means that they're hiring a guy they can control. So that means that Joel Silver and Sylvester Stallone were basically the directors of the movie, meaning that this guy, Marco Brambilla, or whatever his name is, probably was a director in name only, and probably had some, creative input, but I would suspect that, everything had to get past a guy like Sly and Joel Silver, especially at this time. That would be the only explanation. I
like your take on it. Could it also have been as well that they didn't have to fork over a ton of dough for a big name director? Like, I'm assuming a lot went to Stallone, to Snipes, and
could have been
definitely a big money. I mean, the look of the movie is very rich.
Could have been, but you could find a lot. You could find a lot more experience for that same money. Like, people who have experience at least 2 or 3 features, that are still hungry and looking for that, like remember the guy who directed guy who directed Copland. Okay, he was he was an independent filmmaker for a while, then he got this big chance to work with all these big guys, and even though it's a movie that we love, it didn't quite hit, right. But then they gave him the keys to the X-Men franchise and gave him Logan, and he knocked that one out of the park, so it sounds like that you don't give a guy who's never directed a movie before the keys to this Ferrari, let's say, stick shift. How many mixed metaphors can I put in one?
Oh my!
Yeah, so it just seems like they needed someone they could control.
Groo, the film does mention Arnold Schwarzenegger having served as the President of the United States. That they claim, in the movie, a constitutional amendment was passed allowing him to run for office due to his popularity. 10 years after the film was released, Schwarzenegger was elected in the 2003 California gubernatorial recall election. The election saw Schwarzenegger actually begin a political career as the 38th governor of California. Shortly after he was elected, an Arnold Amendment did get proposed. We've already talked about Taco Bell, and Wall Street Journal does say that Demolition Man did really kick off sort of the localization of product placement. I do have that in my notes. The film was greenlit with a production budget. I know we always talk about budget, but I found this interesting. It was greenlit with an initial production budget of $45 million. According to my notes, cost increased to $77 million after the shooting schedule was extended, and then with production and marketing, The budget was nearly $97 million. So my question to you is this typical for a big money release? I mean, they really went way over proposed budget here.
It's typical for a movie like this, which looks huge on paper, and when you're putting it together, you don't think about the kind of costs that might come up. So the answer is yes. Like, you think about other movies that around that time or near that time, like Terminator 2 and Titanic, and like all these huge budget movies that are notorious for going over budget. So this was pretty common. And look, you had two A-list stars above the title stars, surrounded by very expensive character actors, and it was a big budget, a big high concept, high special effects. You got to think that that's going to go. To think that kind of movie in the T2 era is going to only cost you $45 million. With one of the highest, I think at the time, still the highest paid movie star in the world, Sylvester Stallone in the movie, you're foolish to think that. So the answer is yeah, it was common and still is.
We've talked about this before. Refresh my memory. Where is Stallone at career-wise? I feel like he was slightly off the charts. I feel like when I went to this movie, this was being pushed as somewhat of a comeback movie for Sylvester. Where was he at in this stage in his career in '93?
I think he was coming off the misfires of like Oscar and Stop or My Mom Will Shoot and that. But then I think he had Cliffhanger, which was a hit, and this was a hit as well. So I think he was sort of like this could have broken him out of that slump, but I think the choices he made after this kind of buried him for a little while.
Fair enough.
He was on the way back up, in my opinion.
Okay, good. Groo, MTV held a competition and a demolition event to promote the film with MTV Sports' Dan Cortese as host. Stars from the film in attendance. They were at the Bell. Oh, I think they demolished that building. That was part of the whole MTV tie-in. Mm-hmm. There's some, besides the whole Sting Demolition Man song, there were two commercial jingles, which were not part of the soundtrack. They were Armour hot dogs, which was sung by Sandra Bullock and Benjamin Bratt in the police car. And then the jingle from the 1960s commercial, Jolly Green Giant, sung by Dan Cortese in the Taco Bell restaurant. Of course, there was the theme for the Love Boat during the virtual sex scene between Sandra Bullock and Sylvester Stallone. I love that scene. That's a great scene. Mm-hmm. Let me give you a quick synopsis of the plot. Andrew, frozen in 1996, Simon Phoenix, a convicted crime lord, is revised for a parole hearing well into the 21st century. Revived into a society free from crime, Phoenix resumes his murderous rampage, and no one can stop him. John Spartan, the police officer who captured Phoenix in 1996, has also been cryogenically frozen, this time for a crime he did not commit. In 2032, the former cities of Los Angeles, San Diego, and Santa Barbara have merged into a peaceful, utopian San Angeles. Love that concept. Unable to stop him with their nonviolent solutions. Love that also, that initial scene with the police officers. The police release Spartan to help recapture Phoenix. Now, after 36 years, Spartan has to adapt himself to a future society he has no knowledge about. Andrew, you want to do a little movie fun facts?
Absolutely, Evan. Here we go.
All right, let me know, my friend, with your Hulkamania hat.
Nothing Worthwhile presents Fun Facts.
What you gonna do, brother, when movie Fun Facts runs wild on you? Wesley Snipes' kicks and punches sometimes look lurchy and awkward. Snipes is an accomplished black belt in real life, and his kicks and punches were so fast that they blurred on camera. Hence, the producers asked him to slow them down.
Wow.
Thank you. Only that kind of insightful facts you're going to get on Nothing Worthwhile.
And that's why we are what and who we are.
Snipes also hated his blonde dye job and shaved his head as soon as filming was complete. After this movie's release, professional NBA player Dennis Rodman began dyeing his hair different colors, a look that was inspired by Simon Phoenix.
No. So it's his fault.
Exactly. Stallone described the cryogenic freezing scene as probably, quote, the worst 5 hours I've ever had on movie sets. I was terrified. I thought when I saw that scene at the beginning of the movie, I'm like, this is going to be fucking good.
Yeah, that's a bold statement for him to make.
Yeah.
Not when Dolph Lundgren punched his heart through his back. That wasn't worse than this.
I mean, because if that really happened, obviously not the cryogenic piece, but if he was in an enclosed area where they put in liquid, it's got to be like, claustrophobic, and you think like you're going to drown or something. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
I just remember that scene. I was like, it felt so realistic, and I was like, I think I'm going to enjoy the movie.
I like it better in Austin Powers.
Well, speaking of comedians, Rob Schneider became friends with Sandra Bullock, but had reservations about her next project. Some bus movie he didn't think would take off. Speed 1994 was one of the next year's most critically and financially successful movies. That's kind of interesting. We've never really talked about Speed, but interesting. Rob Schneider, I just think he's so funny in this movie. I loved him in this movie. Stallone is on record being pleased with Demolition Man Groo, calling it a good action film ahead of its time. Adrian Barbeau.
I don't want to give you any like.
No, we're going quick on here, but. All right, here's the thing. Adrian Barbeau is the computer's voice. She also voiced the computer in The Thing, 1982.
Ooh, I did not know that. I know who she is. She's Rodney's
Adrian
wife
Barbeau,
in
I'm sorry.
Back to School.
Yeah, she. How do I say this?
Really big.
Just phenomenal for her time. Ahead of her time. Hungarian. Here's something interesting. Not on Adrian Barbeau's chest, of course. Well, it is interesting, Adrian Barbeau's chest, but let me digress. Hungarian science fiction writer István Nemir says most of Demolition Man is based on his novel Haltak Harka, Fight of the Dead, published in 1986. In the novel, a terrorist and a counterterrorism soldier are cryogenically frozen, then awakened in the 22nd century to find violence has been purged from society. Nemir claimed that a committee proved that 75% of this movie is identical to his book. He chose not to sue because it would have been too expensive for him to hire a lawyer and fight against major Hollywood forces in the United States. He also claimed that Hollywood has plagiarized works of many Eastern European writers after the fall of the Iron Curtain, and that he knows the person allegedly responsible for illegally selling his idea to the filmmakers. It's quite a bold statement. Just wanted to get your thoughts.
Yeah, and it's something that happens more than we know. Same thing happened famously for Coming to America.
Really?
That was allegedly stolen. Everybody wants to claim something when. And look, there are thousands, probably more than that, of scripts and stories that are in piles on people's desks. So it's quite common for people to have a similar idea or a similar concept. So and it's also common for people to get ripped off because they don't protect themselves. That's why, from my experience, when I used to, when I was out there trying to be a writer. I would send my work to different agencies or whatever, and I would always get it returned to me because they didn't want to open it because they didn't want to subject themselves to any possible lawsuit because it happened so often. That doesn't surprise me, not at all.
Bruce, Stallone had duplicates of the frozen John Spartan put on display at Planet Hollywood restaurants. He was one of the original investors in the restaurant chain. I love the old Planet Hollywood.
I remember
restaurant.
it.
I loved it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. Good. They had good. What do you call that? It's like pizza without the pizza. It's like pizza bread or like I don't know.
Flatbread,
flatbread, yeah, something like that. They didn't call
pizza?
it. They didn't call it that like that. They called it like a yippee-ki-yay something or other. But it was really good. But yeah, I remember playing out. Are there? Does that place even exist anymore? Anywhere?
I don't know. I think they're out. But it just reminds me of when I went to. I think it was called The World, the WWE restaurant. I got the Y2J. I got like the Y2J mixed drink.
Yeah, I got the Cactus Jack macaroni and cheese.
Sir Nigel Hawthorne allegedly didn't get along with either Sylvester Stallone or Wesley Snipes.
Oh.
Sandra Bullock talked about working with Sylvester Stallone in an interview with Rolling Stone. We knock heads, but at some point I became like his younger sister. He'd bang on the trailer with his golf clubs in the middle of the night. Come out and play. He'd want to swat golf balls in the middle of the night. Yeah, golf balls.
Yeah, that would go over well today.
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah, right. Sure. Right.
Yeah, that's a ticket. Yeah.
It was rumored that there was going to be a Demolition Man 2, and it would take place after this movie, in which John Spartan and Lenina Huxley would have been married, and Jackie Chan again would have played the main antagonist, replacing Wesley Snipes. But the sequel did not happen. There was a prequel written long ago and was thought to flop, so it never got made. The prequel was believed to start out with John Spartan, going up against Simon Phoenix. Any thoughts on a potential sequel and or prequel, Andrew?
No.
Okay.
I didn't hear that. I didn't know about that, and I'm not unhappy about that.
Okay. San Angeles was going to be named of the city in Blade Runner 1982.
Did not know that.
The fight scenes were all choreographed to be somewhat cartoonish. The violence was meant to be a little tongue-in-cheek. Now, I will say that I don't like that.
I agree.
I don't think the violence came off as tongue-in-cheek. It comes off retrospective of a typical 90s action movie. However, hearing this, if they want me to, believe in it, then I want realistic violence, and I don't think it was cartoonish. Obviously, it has a 90s look that is typical for that time period. Explosions, you don't really get the full violent sort of feeling. But anyway, I'm not a fan of if you're going to sell me a serious movie, I don't want cartoonish. I don't want tongue in cheek. I want it to be sold to me real.
Yeah, I agree. And
give it to me. Give it to me hard. I'm sorry.
Give it to me raw. Let's go in.
Yeah, exactly.
Uncooked.
In Lenina Huxley's office, there's a lethal weapon. I'll
the Lethal Weapon poster. They're promoting themselves.
Yeah, Steve Kahan, who played Captain Healy in 1996 Los Angeles, also played Captain Ed Murphy in the Lethal Weapon film franchise.
Yeah, I met him once, actually. He lived right near me where I lived in California. I used to see him at this bagel place.
Nice guy?
Yeah, very nice guy. Really, really, really kind of cool and down to earth. But it's cool to see him. Usually he only shows up in like Richard Donner movies. Because I think he was his cousin. I think he's still alive. Richard Donner's gone, but I think Steve Kahan is still alive. But he was in like all the Lethal Weapons. He was in Superman. He was in like everything, like the Goonies. He was in that. So to see him show up here was actually a nice surprise because I like him.
According to commentary found on the DVD, there were some scenes deleted from the movie, including a subplot involving John Spartan's daughter, who they do reference in the movie, and the murder of Zachary Lamb by Phoenix. Any thoughts on perhaps those two subplots being nixed? Would they have added to the film? Any thoughts on that DVD commentary?
They wouldn't have added anything as is because the film is, I think, a little too long as it is. A little too long. So to add that kind of character stuff in there probably would not have served it if they were telling the story in a different way, which I'll get to. Maybe, but as is, no.
Interesting. Now you got me curious about your review, which we'll hear in a little bit. It was originally planned to have Wesley Snipes and Stallone meet face to face without a fight, but it was decided it would be much better if they fought and they tried to kill each other. I agree on that one. I mean, if you got Stallone and Snipes, two of the biggest action stars in the world, you got to deliver, right? Okay.
Well, if you have The Rock and Roman Reigns, you got to have them go at it. That's your number one, and over everything else, unless of course us Cody crybabies.
Let's see here. All right, the scene where Dr. Raymond Cocteau invites John Spartan and Lenina Huxley to Taco Bell was actually filmed just across the I-405 freeway from the international headquarters of Taco Bell in Irvine, California. Yeah, right. Okay. Right. All right, Andrew.
Now I know where they got all the money. Imagine if McDonald's sponsored them. Then maybe these special effects
McDonald's turned it down.
No, I know.
McDonald's
That's my point.
Now I do know that I think the foreign version in some markets, Pizza Hut was the winner of and they have Pizza Hut as the restaurant.
All right, but my point is like Taco Bell and Pizza Hut are like B level. You know, you get like a McDonald's. That's the 800-pound gorilla. They got money.
Understood, but I think Taco Bell was smart. I think Taco Bell was smart to cash in on this promotion.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Now we know why they had financial troubles. They could have gotten a lot more money if McDonald's had accepted, or even Burger King.
True.
Because at the time, I think even Taco Bell wasn't what it is now. I don't know.
All right, Andrew. Let me get to
either way. You get diarrhea. So.
I did have Taco Bell Saturday night because we went to a wedding, and this will not happen at my wedding, but a lot of parties, weddings, they don't do the food and drink right. It's like they had one line for the bar, so the line was literally out the door, and then they didn't even have like appetite. They had like one plate of food, and people are sitting there. You're going through a ceremony. And yeah, people want. I mean, at the end of the day, really, to be brutal, they don't really give an F. They want to eat and drink for free, and have a good time.
Yeah,
and
that's what everybody wants.
Marie on the way home, Marie called me and she's like, "Are you hungry?" I'm like, "I am starving." So she went to Taco Bell at like midnight, came home, and I just like ate in bed. I had like a chicken quesadilla, I had like sauce all over my mouth, fell asleep. Like I didn't brush my teeth.
That's what those are the best. Those are the best. Like, we do that in New York. If we get home at like 1 a.m, in November, we're like, why the hell not? There's literally no reason not to. If we're fucking hungry, we're hungry. Let's go.
That's right, Andrew. God damn it.
Who made the rules?
Gru, you're really good at this. I didn't put it on. I got it right at the very, very beginning this afternoon, but I just have domestic gross. If you want to look up international after we go over this, but you want to take a gander at what I got for total domestic gross for Demo Man?
Sure. I remember this movie being a hit. For the time, it was a big hit. So I'm going to say around 140, 150 domestic, around that 140, between 140 and 150 million.
I gotta tell you, Andrew's got listen. Andrew has no ear for like typical finances. Like you ask him, he's like, well, he's like, all right, forget it. I won't go down.
No. I gotta be fair. Well, what is it?
159 million. You're right there.
I gotta be fair. You gotta remember, or maybe you don't. I used to pay attention to this stuff when movies would come out. Like, I'd read in the paper. I'd look to see. I was interested in how movies did comparatively. Like I was interested in getting into that business. So I remember movies that were hits, movies that were flops. I because I was paying attention. So that's kind of why I know this. It's not like any studying. It's just I remember when they came out. I remember
you're
the
good.
responses.
I'll give you credit. Gru, you want to take a gander at Rotten Tomatoes critical score? What did they give Demo?
Yes, I remember our own hometown paper, Newsday, gave it 3.5 stars.
Wow.
Which I remember being shocked at that for a movie like this. I mean, this was before I saw it. But for a Sylvester Stallone movie, 3.5. But I don't think all critics were that kind. I think it was more mixed. So I'm going to go with a Rotten Tomatoes score of a flat 60%. What do you got?
My boy is good. 63% based on 43. Okay. Based on 43 critical reviews. David Anson from Newsweek says of Demolition Man, Demolition Man is a movie that should have been fun, and it isn't. Richard Schickel from Time Magazine says, ultimately the script's often sharp social satire is drowned out by the noise and confusion. It is also undercut by casting virtually all of its psychopathically murderous criminals as minority group members.
See, it didn't just start last year, okay? This has been going on forever.
Emmanuel Levy from Variety says, a noisy, soulless, self-conscious pastiche that mixes elements of sci-fi, action, adventure, and romance, then pours on layers of comedy replete with Hollywood in-jokes. It's sort of like the Taco Town thing we played on the intro. It's like, I did that for Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And then finally, Philip Bloom from Empire Magazine. That's a big one. The futuristic comedy depends on your opinion of Stallone and his unapologetic, popcorn-pleasing action no-brainers. To be fair, this is one of his better ones. Groo, you want to go give me the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes based on 450,000 audience reviews? What do you think the audience thought of Rotten? Of Demo?
It's a percentage, right?
Yeah, percentage.
Oh,
so critical 63. What do you think of the audience score?
This is fans like this movie, I think. So I'm going to go 85%. I think this was a crowd pleaser, if I remember correctly. 85.
67%.
Ooh, all right. You got me on that one.
All right, Andrew. You want to take a crack at it first? Or you want me to? What do you want? I'll throw it to you
for the review.
I got on our Nothing Worthwhile scale of 0 to 4 Taco Bell soft tacos. What say ye about 1993's Demolition Man?
Okay, so I will give you my rating first and then explain why. I'm going to go 2 out of 4 tacos. And here's why. Because I remember when I saw it in the theater, being very excited about it because it did get really good reviews from my perspective. And I remember being disappointed, even though I remember laughing and I remember being excited. I remember all the experience of seeing it, but I walked out feeling like there was something missing. And I'd never seen it again until a couple days ago or a few days ago. And now I know what it is. And it's because I think they're trying to do too much. I agree with a couple of those critic reviews that you read.
Me too.
It's it's part this, part that, and it's not whole anything. And there's a lot of good stuff here, but one of the biggest problems with it is that, to me, the funniest character in the movie is John Spartan. And part of the problem is that everybody around him is trying to be funny too. And it's kind of like a comic comedy car crash. And it doesn't really work. There's something missing from it. Even though, Rob Schneider's really funny. He does basically the same character a couple of years later in Judge Dredd.
Agreed.
Sandra Bullock is funny, but it's there's something missing about the whole. It's just a mishmash, and I realized that I would have rather have seen the same story take place in the modern day, like. It's to take all of these elements and then throw in the culture clash in the future and all this stuff, to have to expect the audience to adapt to all of this stuff that they've never seen before, the same as the character. I think it demanded too much. I would have rather have seen the same type of thing, like a couple of guys, like almost like Austin Powers in a way. A couple guys get like they get frozen in the 60s, then they come back in the 90s and have to adjust to our world. And to me, I would have liked to have seen the characters of Spartan and Phoenix do that. I don't know. It just seemed I was working too hard trying to keep up. So that being said, there's a lot of good stuff in here. It just reeks of a movie that's got 30 different opinions and hands, and like you described, a lot of writers, a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and that's what ultimately sinks it for me. So 2 out of 4 tacos.
All right, Andrew, this will be interesting. I always go with the Evan Moody good, bad final review. Good. I'm kind of quick on this one. Great look, great cast, great science fiction concept. Bad, I do think they just really scratched the surface of the material. I think in more capable hands and maybe even different actors, we could have gotten maybe a Blade Runner type movie, a sci-fi classic. So my final review is, the movie is very interesting to me. It predicted many of the things that the future brought: video phone calls, self-driving cars, overriding political correctness. The restaurant giant is Taco Bell. That's a joke, of course. So really, instead of being a real aware sci-fi classic, to me it's a fun recall to a 1993 shoot-'em-up with Stallone, Snipes, and Bullock. I'll give it 3 soft tacos. It does barely scratch the surface. Maybe not, actually, ironically enough, I'm usually a little more harsher on it. But it felt the same way kind of when I watched it back in the day. It was fun. It has a rich look to it. And I think Stallone gives a little bit more of a nuanced performance than Judge Dredd. I think I love Sandra Bullock. I feel like it's her debut or her star-making turn. So I'm not quite as harsh. I do think if it was in different hands and maybe different actors, it could have been maybe a sci-fi classic, because I think there's a pretty cool concept there, and there is a lot of overlying messages here. I think Andy felt like it tied it down. I just felt like they barely scratched the surface. But in terms of a Stallone action shoot 'em up, it is a better one than the typical Meyer. So I'll go 3 soft tacos.
All right. He is very good in this, Stallone. His performance is good.
I agree.
He's funnier in this than in some of the comedies that he does. So I give him credit for that. It just like I said, it sinks under its own weight.
Yeah, he's in tremendous shape in this movie, man. He is just ripped in this movie. All right, Groo, let's move on. We're going to start to close it out here. You did one of my one thing I'm watching recommendations was Netflix's Greatest Night in Pop. You have confirmed that you have watched this, and what would you like to say about Netflix's documentary, The Greatest Night in Pop?
Very, very, very good, and really just so nostalgic in a great way. A real good retelling and behind-the-scenes look of what is really one of the most incredible, when you think about it, when you look at it through the scope of the way the documentary does, it's like, how the hell did they pull this off? And it reminds us of a time, that we were, I don't know, it just seems so simple, and yet just little things of seeing the factory making the cassette tapes to send out to eat, thinking how even that's gone. This was a very well produced documentary. There was one of these that did exist that was made at the time, like an hour HBO special, which this thing included a good amount of, but that was basically just a promotional thing. This really got underneath, showed you all these people, where they were at the time. The people that they got to interview for it now were great, so I really enjoyed it. I know I'm supposed to be short on it, but really enjoyed Greatest Night in Pop. I think that's what it's called on Netflix.
Yes,
the story of We Are the World.
Yeah, my take.
Brought to you by America First. I'm just kidding.
Oh, here we go. Go ahead. This political rant is brought to you by...
No, it's great stuff. Great. I really enjoyed it.
If I did learn... So I didn't really know Lionel Richie was really sort of a huge part in making that whole deal go down. And, he was like the guy that everybody deferred to, and he worked the room and the rock star, the white rock stars, and the black R&B star. He really worked the entire room and got it. I didn't know that, so that I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did.
Groo, you want me to go? Who do you want? You want to give us one thing you're watching this week?
Yes.
Give us a recommendation. What's something you got? It's a Saturday, Friday night. You got nothing to do. What does Andy Groo want the people listening to? What are you recommending?
All right. Well, it's never been quite a recommendation before. Is what are you watching?
What do you want? Okay,
I'm not necessarily recommending it yet. I'm watching the new season of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Okay, I saw it.
And I'm going to say that so far, the series seems to have jumped the shark. However, I am going to stick with it, that being the last season and all. I think it's a funny concept, but it's not quite landing. But I'm going to hang in there. I'm too
incredible.
I did not see the most recent one. I've seen the first two. Chuckles, nothing. It reminds me of how great the show once was, and wondering why they head down certain directions. So I'm not there yet on it, but I'm sticking with it. Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, I am really amazed because I had it in my notes and I didn't talk about it, but I watched the first episode with Marie, and I had the exact same reaction. Like Chuckles, it's a one joke thing that they've done for how many years, and it's a great joke. But I said afterwards, I go, am I running a little thin on this one joke? And I have some thoughts on the show and the characters, which I'm not going to get into, but I do agree. It started to get a little stale in my view, when I watched it.
Yeah, but look, hopefully,
is he going to put his foot in his mouth again? Anyway,
but it's not even that. It's just like it's like you think back to some of the earlier seasons, and the situations are the reason they're so funny is that because they're so real. Like now, they seem like they're just manufacturing situations for him.
Yeah, true.
You know, I guess that's how shows you that series are running out of gas. I guess, but
yeah,
let's see where it goes. You know,
I watched season 1, episode 3, Porn Star Gil. That's one of my favorite episodes. I watched it.
My favorite is, I think, the Judy doll, the one with the Judy doll. And Crazy Eyes Killer makes me laugh uncontrollably.
Crazy Eyes Killer.
Many parts of that episode. So,
Andrew, I am watching this week, and I will recommend this. Strong recommendation. This is by far the best thing I watched all week. Check out Paul Giamatti, 2023 throwback to Holdovers.
I saw it.
Yeah, this was a Pops Moody recommendation. My dad is a huge Paul Giamatti fan. And my dad doesn't have anything streaming, and he actually went to the theater for the first time in 17 years to see a movie. And my dad said, "Yeah, check it out." And my dad's always loved it was Sideways, and my dad's really liked Paul Giamatti. Probably sees a lot of himself in him, to be honest with you. And we watched the movie, and stunning piece of cinema. Just the look of the 70s and the feel of what a 70s movie looks like. And then the actual story about 3 people kind of stuck together during Christmas break at a prep school. And that's all I'll say about it. I really strongly recommend it. You could do a lot worse. Well-made movie. Paul Giamatti, 2023. It's on Peacock, The Holdovers. That's what I watched this week. That's what I'm recommending.
I can imagine your dad coming back saying, "Hey, they got these love seats there now. You bring a girl there, you bring you have a good time. It's great."
He just mentioned it to me in passing, and he was like, he said, I had not been in a movie theater in probably 17 years. I didn't ask him what was the last movie he went to, but when I mentioned The Holdovers, I know he's a Giamatti fan. I know he likes Paul Giamatti, and
last movie I saw was The Hustler with Paul Newman. It was good.
Yeah, Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome.
I saw The Holdovers as well, and I couldn't agree more with you. Everything you said. So now you got to come up with something else. So text me during the week.
I'll text you. I'll text you during the week.
Yeah, because that Holdovers is great. A great movie. Giamatti, I believe, is going to win the Oscar.
You should.
More than deserving. So yeah, I can't add anything other than what you said. It was great movie.
I told you, Griselda on Netflix is super. I watched a couple of. I still haven't finished it yet, but it's really good, really good, really good. All right, Groo. For our next episode of Van Dammit, Groo and I are going to check out our guy Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's a very interesting one, 2008 JCVD, in which Jean-Claude, the real Jean-Claude, gets caught up in a bank robbery. Be aware, it's JCVD, Andrew. JCVD.
Yes, I'm getting tired of these crappy movies that we've been watching, so I have heard good things about JCVD, and I've never seen it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm tired. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Enough of this replicant shit. And you know what? You know, you want to know something interesting, actually? I think Demolition Man would have been better with Van Damme. I think it was more his kind of thing. So he would be the straight guy, and everybody else around it would be funny and be a little bit better balanced. Stallone is almost too good for it. Interesting.
No, I don't see it that way. Do I think Jean-Claude could have pulled it off? Absolutely. When I think of John Spartan, it's Stallone. But do I think Jean-Claude could have pulled it off? Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I don't think his name would have been John Spartan if it was Van Damme. With him, it would have been like Adam Goldsmith or something, and it would start at his bar mitzvah in like the 7th grade, and yeah. Why isn't he played an Israeli?
Yeah, well, he'll go to the future and he'll have an evil twin.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm looking forward to JCVD. Yes, absolutely.
And then for our next Nothing Worthwhile episode, I don't have the year. We just real quick agreed. We want to give one final shout out to Carl Weathers. We're going to thank Carl, and we're going to review Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore. What year was Happy Gilmore? Can you look it up for me?
I want to say around 93, 94, around.
I'm going to say 94.
Yeah,
look it up
just
real quick.
Before. It was just before The Wedding Singer, which was I think like 96. So let's get the Google machine. Happy Gilmore, right? Yeah, Happy Gilmore. Got to say goodbye to Chubbs again. God, should we just watch all the movies that Carl Weathers dies in? Rocky IV. Should we do that too? I don't know. He didn't die in Action Jackson. Did he die in? He died in
Predator.
In Predator, yeah.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah, 96. All right, so Happy Gilmore came out in 96. Yeah.
All right. So all right, Andrew. Let's take us out of here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you one and all for joining us on this beautiful President's Day, at least here.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's not. It's kind of dark and dank, but that's the way we like it here at Nothing Worthwhile. Dark and dank, just like our lives. But ladies and gentlemen, next week we'll be coming at you, going back to Jean-Claude Van Damme universe, or the Action Heroes, with Jean-Claude Van Damme. No.
They're going to welcome us back with such open arms.
Yes, JCVD. And following that, our tribute to the late, great Carl Weathers with the Adam Sandler 96 classic, Happy Gilmore. And until then, folks, enjoy life, embrace it, wear your fucking seatbelts. All right? And 1, 2, 3.